Okay, hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith. And so I know I probably don't look it now, seeing as how I've had four strokes in my adult life. But back in the day when I was 16 to 20 years old, I was training 5 nights a week, 3 hours per night in the gym in martial arts. And, all styles, karate. It was really supposed to be a karate school, but we trained in karate, Japanese jiu jitsu, judo, and Gracie jiu jitsu all under one roof. And one reason that I haven't already mentioned that I don't necessarily respect pro MMA fighters is because most of them cannot punch or kick anywhere near as hard as I could when I was 20 years old. And I know this based on how hard I hit a heavy bag or a standing water bag, and based on the fact that even though we were sparring full contact, since they had to make special rules every time I sparred somebody and tell me not to hit them more than half of what I had because it hurt everybody if I hit with more than half of what I had. And people would complain that they got hurt if I hit them any harder than half of what I had. Um, and I mean, this is not a lie or an exaggeration. I can, to this day, I'm considered medically disabled, and I can still kick a freaking standing water bag harder than pro fighters can. That's one reason why I know I should have gone pro when I was 20 years old and just didn't think about my life the way that other people were thinking about their lives at the time. But I should have gone pro when I was 20 years old. Uh, I once punched as a demonstration of how hard you can learn to punch. I once punched a 225-pound standing water bag so hard that it went airborne and flipped a full cartwheel and a half in the air before it hit the ground again. And that was in response to another student complaining that it was a girl this time and she wanted me to hit her. And I was like, I'm not hitting you because it's going to hurt you if I hit you. And since it was like, wait, let's demonstrate how hard a real, because I was a brown belt at the time, a real trained brown belt of your size can actually punch. And so when I punched the bag that hard and it flipped a full flip and a half through the air, and again, this was a 225-pound standing water bag, the girl, it was a woman, she was, I think, 21 years old at the time. Um, I think 20 or 21 years old at the time because she was actually a year older than me. Anyway, she was like, he turned to her then and he's like, "Do you really want somebody to punch you?" And she was like, "No." "Do you really want a grown man to punch you?" "No, of course not." Well, I was only weighing in at 185 pounds at the time, and so the bag actually weighed more than me. And you have to brace your stance correctly, or you'll be knocking yourself back just as much as you knock the bag back. For every force, there's an equal and opposite force, so you have to brace correctly to do that. But MMA are calling themselves pro fighters, and they have like John Jones has like a 450-pound punch. I kid you not, on the punch machine. He has a 450-pound punch on the first level of the punch machine, and the machine has 3 levels on it. You see a problem? Machine goes up, tops out at 1,000 per level, and there's 3 levels, so it maxes out at 3,000 pounds. And he only punched with 450 pounds with his strong hand. And Conor McGregor had to take a running start to get 1,000 pounds with an overhand right. If you've seen the video, and he barely got 1,000 pounds with a running overhand right or hammer fist. Um, so I'm like, damn, I can punch that much flat-footed. If I throw my whole body into it, I can easily punch that much. I've tried to explain this to Gabriel Varga. That like correction. I thought he was 135 that he weighed in, but apparently he weighs in at 145. But anyway, I saw him demonstrating kicks on a bag at different types of kicks on his water bag. he barely even moves a water bag when he kicks it. When I kick a standing water bag, when I was 20 years old anyway, it went airborne for 10 feet before it even hit the ground again. And that's again a 225-pound standing water bag. When I kick it full power, it goes airborne for 10 feet through the air. We literally measured it and marked it off one time how far I can kick and send a standing water bag flying airborne. So, you know, that's another reason I don't respect pro fighters as much as they might otherwise get from me, because they don't kick anywhere near as hard as I used to kick when I was 20 years old. I was trained, like I said, I don't know what they do when they're supposedly training, but they're not working on technique. Watch this. I'm going to ask the bot, the AI. Okay, so the AI says there's between 36 and 50 submissions in BJJ, apparently depending on which branch of the school you're studying in. Well, I can tell you I know over 200 unique submissions that I was taught, including the 50 Brazilian Jiu Jitsu submissions. All right. I was taught over 200 unique submissions in the karate and Japanese Jiu Jitsu class, including the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu submissions. So that's another reason why and you of course know that you only ever see about 5 different submissions used in MMA regularly, with a few other obscure ones used once in a long while. Um, because they don't practice them enough to even use them on one another is what their problem is, and it's like about like the reverse wrist lock thing. Why don't they even know something as simple as the front wrist lock and reverse wrist lock? And again, don't say it doesn't work, because I know firsthand it does work. I've had it used on me at least 1,000 times during demonstrations and tapped out to it every single time. And I've used it hundreds, if not thousands, of times on other people during full contact sparring and tapped them out many, many times. So, if you think they don't work, you just never done it correctly or had never seen it done correctly. So it baffles my mind how they can get in situations where they should be able to finish the fight and can't finish the fight simply because they don't know yellow belt level techniques.